everybody, and welcome to the Reaper Wargaming podcast. We have a very special, very awesome episode happening today. We are joined here by Kerry, aka K Legs, off of Instagram fame, Warhammer painting fame, competitive play fame, loads of different places. You'll have seen her all over the place. So thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. As always, we're going to start with a quick update about what is happening in the club, and then we're just going to have a conversation, if that works for you, Kerry. Yeah, perfect. Hey, that is no problem whatsoever. So I'm going to go to El Presidente, Dave McLeod, and he is going to give us an update on what is happening over the next couple of weeks at the club, Dave. I'll unmute you. You're unmuted.
There we go. Hey, technology is really good when you can figure it out. So, yeah, this is a unique one. I'm currently live at the club, which is the first time I've ever tried to do this at the podcast. It's either really loud and horrendous, and I'm really sorry if people are in chat and say it's awful. But we've got a whole bunch of games happening just now. We've got Sigmar, we've got some league games getting played, we've got some WTC practice getting going on in the room. Some guys that are signed up for Clan Wars, which is the first big thing that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. We've got a team of 5 going to the Team Scotland event, which is Clan Wars teams. And we knew there was going to be some big fish because there's some big fish in the Scottish scene. Didn't know that Innes Wilson had recruited 2 of WTC Poland's like big guns. So Typhus, that does the Enter the Matrix podcast for StatCheck. He is, I believe, a UKTC referee. He is a former Poland team captain, former ETC, WTC, like high-ranking player. He's come over from Poland with one of his teammates, Myson, that's part of Team Ignite. And they've joined together to make a super team between StatCheck and Team Ignite for this event, which is kind of terrifying. But it'll be a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of teams signed up for that. It's going to be a really unique experience. It'll be the first time the club attends an event like that. And then, yeah, the only other kind of point of interest that's kind of worth talking about before we get into the real meat and potatoes of tonight's chat is our Christmas event that we have planned this year. We are doing a 12-hour open day in raising funds for Cash for Kids, which is as you might guess, it's a children's charity. They have a thing called Mission Christmas, which is all about making sure that vulnerable young people from at-risk families and families that experience poverty throughout the year get Christmas presents to open. So it's really exciting things to try and raise some funds for. We've got a bunch of things still being kind of worked out in the details. There's talks of maybe some Apocalypse games, a mini 1K RTT, some Sigmar, some Kill Teams, some Warcry guys maybe coming along. So anybody that's interested in a full 12-hour day of hobby or gaming, just get in touch on the Discord or jump on chat or send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, all the usual stuff that I'm sure Nick will plug somewhere in all of our podcast stuff. And then I have a really fun secret that only the committee know about, but it's a secret and it's going to stay a secret till January. But it's really cool, and I'm sure Nick will agree. It's really cool.
It is really cool. I agree. Welcome everyone who is joining us on Twitch as well. Keep putting stuff in the chat. Keep chatting over there. It's always great to have you involved live alongside us as we talk through tonight. But without further ado, hello, Kerry. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming along. And I think the best way to introduce yourself is just to tell us a little about who you are, your Warhammer journey, and just sort of what got you into it as well.
Can I just say, before I dive into all of that, what you're doing for Mission Christmas is amazing. Like, wow. I wish I lived closer because it sounds absolutely amazing. And if you do live close by, you should definitely go to it because it sounds like super amazing. But yeah, in terms of myself, oh my god, where to begin? So I think at first I saw somebody painting a miniature, your typical Space Marine, and I was like, what's this? Being quite a creative person and quite inquisitive, I was like, maybe I should paint one and give it a go. And then after that, I kind of decided that I might walk into a Warhammer shop. So I walked past one in the Metro Centre in Gateshead. Shout out to everybody, all the staff members in there, because they're amazing. And I went in, and I remember somebody saying to us, so what do all of your friends play? And I was like, well, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. I had no idea, like, what Warhammer was, what Age of Sigmar was. I had literally just seen, like, a tiny little Space Marine, and that had piqued my interest. Then from there, I remember somebody saying to us, why don't you ask the people who you saw? Why don't you ask your friends? What they play, and then why don't you buy something that is one of those, whether it be Age of Sigmar or 40k? And I had said, oh, why? And they were like, because then you'll have people to play with. And then it kind of spiraled from there. I saw somebody in the shop playing a game, and I just saw he was having such a good time. I was like, yeah, maybe I should do 40k. And then that's kind of how it started.
That's amazing. And that's like, usually you would have it as like, oh, a friend of mine played it, or like one of my siblings played it or something. But for you, it was literally opposite. They expected that it was that's the case. You're like, I have no idea if even my friends even play this game. I literally saw a thing and I thought, that's a cool Space Marine, not even knowing the lore about what is even going on with these little guys and how much they just love war. They just love it.
Yeah, and I was just like, what on earth is this? To be fair, it was more the painting, but then when I saw the person who, funnily enough, is now a very close friend, who I saw playing in the shop, he was having such a good time that I was like, oh, well, there's obviously something to this. There's obviously something more to this that is worthwhile finding out about. And that is when the wormhole opened, and I found out what 40k was.
Yeah, no, 100%. So tell us, what is your favourite army? And tell us why.
So anybody who follows my Instagram will probably already know this, and not be surprised at all. But it's actually demons. It's my one true love. No, it's not. Wicked. It is. You know what? Demons had me hooked. It was the first. I bought a box of Demonettes. Was the very first box of Warhammer 40k that I purchased, and I was just hooked. I liked them because even though it was Warhammer 40k, they were quite fantasy type led. Because I'm going to put it out there, and a lot of people might not expect this, so I prefer AOS models to 40k models.
Blasphemy, but we'll let it fly.
I know. But saying that, I play 40k, so you've got to take one thing, and if there's something that you prefer from the other end, pull from that. So yeah, I love demons. I loved creating my first list when I first created the list that I very first created, and from there it's just spiraled. And I thought I would have got bored with them, but I really haven't. And I find it took me a good solid 2 years before I would even deviate from playing demons to even think about playing a different army. And then I even find that when I learned how to play a new army, I still prefer demons, so I always kind of levitate back to them again.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And what's great about demons as well is that you can play AOS with demons. They're like quite a flexible army, and probably soon as well. Let's be honest, there's going to be something in Heresy. It's always like that kind of slow roll of demons when a demon army is going to become a thing in Heresy, it's very likely to become a lot bigger considering the lore around it as well. So they're probably one of the most flexible armies to play. And if you're wanting fantasy but you still want to play 40k, then demons is good fantasy. Unless, of course, space dwarfs, which is also fantasy as well, which is Dave's true love.
Don't have a go at me. It's not no. I'm a Space Wolves player at heart, but I do. There's something about playing an army that likes to dig holes that brings back kind of the childhood fun of being at the beach and just all day you just dig a hole. It just kind of it gets in your head and away you go. And the fact that they can, they've got actual shovels as opposed to the Imperial Guard that pretend they have shovels, just adds to the fun for me. But I want to ask, in terms of like demons, then what's been your most like favorite unit to like paint? They provide so many unique details and opportunities that most other factions don't necessarily give you, with all those, Space Marines, all these flat panels and edge highlights, whereas with your demons, you get to share a lot of your creativity, as anyone will see if they jump on your Instagram. So kind of, if you could talk about a wee bit of that, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, no problem. So I think my first thought was Keeper Secrets, because they've just got, I don't know, they're just, they've got so much cape. All those capes for days, I like a challenge. I like wet blending. I like airbrushing, and there was lots of surface to utilize those skills. So I think I really enjoyed painting my Keeper of Secrets. Probably closely followed by Mortarion, because I painted him in pastel colours and everyone was just like, oh my god, I've never seen a pastel painted Mortarion before. And I remember at the time I had fallen in love with colour shift paints. Have you ever used them before?
Yeah. I literally got some recently.
They're good.
And they're amazing, but I didn't realise just how hard they were to clean off stuff. Like, they really stick on, on your clothes and on surfaces. So if you're using Colour Shift, hot tip, make sure you've got stuff that is going to catch on.
When I found these, I was in a hobby store, and I found them, and I was like a kid in a sweet shop, and I remember spraying it on with airbrush, and I remember like, oh my god, that's amazing. What if I did this? And then by the next half an hour, I'd like tested it on all sorts of stuff. Like, there was cups lying around. I was like, what will it look like on this? Like, what will it look like on that? And it was just everywhere, to the point where my partner was just like, you need to stop now, otherwise like the whole house is going to be colour shifted. So, but yeah, I think it was those, but mainly because they're great models, but because you can be very experimental on them because of the surfaces and the type of models they are. So yeah, I had a lot of fun painting those.
And you've actually submitted a demon into Golden Demon 2023, is that right?
Yeah. I submitted Bellicor in.
And how did that go? Is it like, I understand you obviously have your first, second, and third, but do they give you any feedback? Like, do they tell you anything about how you got on?
So it's really interesting at Golden Demon, right? It's like an incredible experience, like whether you are a beginner painter, whether you're like a professional painter, up to the likes of Slayer Sword winner like Chris Clayton and Albert. They are like incredible painters. Even if you don't feel like you're up to that standard, I would definitely recommend doing it, because it's seeing it in the cabinet is amazing. But then also that excited feeling and apprehension and the camaraderie about the next bit, which is the bit when they mark them, is just, it's amazing to be part of. But what they do is, you'll hand it in on a Friday, then I think on the Saturday evening, overnight, the judges will judge everything, and there's like a little sticker system. You get a card with your name and the number, and it'll go underneath the plinth, and then there's like a yellow sticker, a green sticker, a blue sticker, a pink sticker, and nobody knows what these stickers mean. So everybody's going around going, oh, well, mine's got a yellow sticker on. What does that mean? And like everyone's just like trying to like they're egging each other on, basically going, oh, that means it's been like photographed by a judge. That means that it's amazing, or that means But really, I think the system get changed every year, so nobody knows what stickers mean. But like
Clever.
just being there is just amazing, and seeing what people say about these stickers is unreal.
Yeah.
And then from there, obviously, it'll get photographed and judged, and then it'll go to your first, second, third, and then of the whole competition, whoever's like the best overall would win the Slayer sword. So last year in the UK, it was Albert. But yeah, it's an exciting competition to be part of, and I think if you are interested in pushing yourself to do a project that's a little bit more slower paced and you want to test your model technique and your painting techniques and stuff, I'd definitely give it a go.
Yeah. And you've had a model showcased as well on Warhammer Community. And sort of what was that kind of experience like, and how did that feel essentially?
I was really humbled that they'd done that and really honoured that they'd done that, because I think getting into the hobby, when from a very beginning perspective, you know that Warhammer Community is somewhere that, I don't know, I just felt like it was very unachievable when I first started, but now, like, seeing that I've managed to get one up there, I'm just like so happy that they're reaching out to people within the community and sharing such a broad range of people now. So it was so nice to have had that, and there be some diversity within the people that they put up there. So yeah, I felt really humbled and really honoured. I was shocked. But yeah, I was really happy about it.
Great. And honestly,
were you like really stressed trying to get a ticket? Like, was it really stressful to try and get a ticket? Because we had a couple of painters up here freaking out, and eventually they couldn't get a ticket for Golden Demon, and they were online trying to like barter to get like chances to enter, and like, is that just part of the kind of the wider experience because there is such a demand for it? Do you think, like, is there ways for Golden Demon to maybe be more accessible? It's a kind of weird way to put it, because obviously it's such a high skill ceiling to kind of put forward. But do you think GW have ways to get more people doing it rather than fighting for tickets?
I think, you know what, I think they're in a very difficult position as a company to try and get the balance right. Because the most recent one was at Warhammer Fest, which was huge, and there was thousands of tickets sold in comparison to the anniversary one that they did the previous year. So there was like loads of controversy about the previous year because the tickets were so small, like it was so hard to get them. And I think with Fest, they tried to listen to people, and then people were complaining, saying there's too many people entering, therefore it's not as hard, if that makes sense. I don't know. I think personally, I think it's a very difficult situation to be in, because I don't know if they'll get it right at all.
We were talking about demons and Golden Demons and how GW, in your opinions, kind of fixed things from when it was impossible to get a ticket to now maybe too many tickets for something as prestigious as Golden Demon.
Yeah, it's hard. I think I don't know if they'll ever get it right, and that's not a bad thing towards them. I think it's just people's expectations. In people's eyes, there's always somebody who'll say that, well, this wasn't right. I would prefer it to have been this way. So I think they're in a very tough position. I think it'll be interesting to see when they announce Golden Demon 2024, because this time last year we knew when the dates were going to be for Fest, because they'd announced Fest and that Golden Demon was part of Fest, and we haven't heard anything yet. So I am excited to see what they do. in terms of the competition itself, it's changed the way I think about hobby.
Right. How so, though?
Massively. So the first time I went to Golden Demon, I wasn't entering Golden Demon competition. I went and did the Hobby Pass challenge on the side while I was there, and that was like amazing. It was really fun. But it was also the first time I'd ever been to a Golden Demon competition and saw the models in the cabinets. Like a tangible model in front of you rather than on Instagram where people have the best angle and the best lighting, you know. Actually seeing it in front of you made it seem more achievable or more, I don't know, be more part of it, more part of the experience. And beforehand, hi Nick.
Hey, I am back on my phone. I do apologize to everybody.
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's alright. I was just saying that being at Golden Demon kind of changed my perspective because beforehand, I would probably buy a model because I was going to play with it. I would paint it and play it and then take it to a tournament, and I would be like, right, okay, I'm getting my money's worth. But then when I went to Golden Demon and saw like the effort that people were putting in their painting and the amazing jobs that they did, I was like, well, just because they're not playing with the models doesn't mean they're not getting their money's worth out of it, because it's just a different thing. Like to them, they get their money's worth because they're enjoying the paint inside of it. So yeah, that kind of changed my perspective quite a lot.
Okay. And did that change your perspective on just that side of the hobby in general, or like did it make you want to paint more?
Both. I then was like, I was really inspired to paint. I was really inspired to take part in Golden Demon, just to be part of that experience, because I saw how much fun everybody was having when they were there, and like I was like, oh, this. I generally want to have a go. So I definitely think if anybody maybe is humming and hawing about it, why don't you go to see one as a spectator, just to see the stuff in the cabinets and see how everybody gets excited about it and meet some new friends, then maybe have a go of it.
Amazing. So you not only are a painter, a hobbyist, you also, as you've mentioned a few times, a competitive player, and you were recently at the LGT. Could you tell us a little bit how your experience was with that? I don't know anyone that comes to the club regularly that has ever been to LGT. It's something that Dave's definitely talked about before, and a couple of people have talked about before. Fulvio's been before. So it'd be great just to hear how you found it, and what your experience was.
Absolutely. So I'll just put it out there, like I just like to try. You know, I might not be the best painter, I might not just be the best gamer, or I might not be the most competitive player, but I just go and have fun. So I think it all comes down to, you know, when you first start hobbying and you meet friends, or you're at the club and people start talking about things like competitions and events that you want to go to. Well, LGT always was the one that came up where everyone's like, that's the one that we want to go to in the UK. It's the LGT, it's London, it's huge. And at that moment I was like, yeah, maybe I could do that one day. But I'd have to learn how to play the game first, and then I'd have to actually play in a tournament first and see if I like it. And then it all became like this whole journey to the road to LGT. It would have been LVO, but that's very pricey, so we went with the 10 grand tournament. So yeah, it was the road to LGT. I wanted to document everything that I did. I wanted to document it from the very beginning, and the best way to describe it was fun. It was really fun, but I think there was a lot of factors that made it fun. So 10th edition had just come out, and I decided that I would learn brand new rules, a brand new army. I take this new army with us to the biggest tournament in the UK, and I think I'd only been playing it for a couple of months, and the whole process of it was to kind of show people that you don't need to be like the best player in the world to go to these things. You can easily go out to the shop, buy a new army in a couple of months' time, paint it a tabletop standard. It doesn't need to be Golden Demon painted. It doesn't need to be the creme de la creme or the best meta list there. Just go have fun. And that was amazing to be able to do that and be in that mindset, to just go and have fun.
I absolutely love to hear that. It's something I push. LGT has now come and gone, I think, twice, and it's become like the white whale for me, where like I've been to 10 events this year. In a weekend's time, it'll be 11, and LGT would have been my 12th of the year, and life got in the way, plans got in the way, and you're just like, it just seems to be one of these things. And then you catch up with all the content, and you see everyone that's posted pictures, and you see people talk about lists, and you listen to 7 or 8 podcasts, and you just think, man, you've just missed the FOMO is so powerful, especially like I think especially when you get to like the Sunday night when people have just got home and they've spammed all their socials with pictures from their weekend and who they've caught up with and who they saw or who they met for the first time, and they were like, and it's just there is something that just keeps drawing us in, and I hope next year we can finally get a big enough crew to go down to London. There's a few of us going down to Nottingham in January for the Super Major that Zach's hosting for that. So that'll be like kind of the first step to getting back into 40k properly after a good Christmas and New Year's, hopefully. But LGT 24 is on the calendar, and we need to get as many Reaper Wargamers there as possible.
And what I will say is Zach does run a good tournament. Yeah, he really does. I've been to 2 of his now. I went to the Newcastle GT and I went to London GT. Both very different in their own right, but they're very well organised. You get a little booklet on the table. It tells you what your secondaries are going to be. It tells you what the missions are going to be. It shows you how to set your terrain up, so everything's all there, ready for you. So you don't need to worry about, what am I doing sort of thing. He's already thought about that, so it means that the turnaround times in between games are really quick. There's a clock, you can see what you're doing. Yeah, I can't in terms of organisation, I can't fault these events.
Yeah, we're big advocates. We bought into the UKTC, so all of our events that we run at the club just now, at least on our competitive calendar, are all played on UKTC terrain. We follow the UKTC FAQ pack, the mission pack, like to the letter, all of the rulings in terms of what you can and can't do with certain units that maybe haven't been FAQ'd properly by GW. Like we really kind of trusting his tools and resources that he's trialed and errored after all these events, and there's a reason so many people go to them, and it's been great for us, and for anyone listening that's maybe hearing what Kerry's saying, like you can just pick up a new army. It's not about, you don't have to, look at Manny Chima's list and go hunting down an undefeated record. You can go play games, have fun. Yeah, definitely. It's a part of the hobby that people, I still to this day think have the wrong impression of. And I hope that things like Warhammer Fest that you've talked about, which looked like another phenomenal event that, by the way, that generated a lot of FOMO. I hope these are the types of events that kind of change the dynamic, the kind of dialogue around competitions and 40k in general, and kind of that sphere. And I think you've nailed it. You can just do these things.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't. I think there is such a stereotype of competitive tournaments being like Shark Tanks. Like You spoke about like Innes Wilson before, and you spoke about Manicheerin. Yeah, you do have people like that there, but that doesn't mean that you can't go there and have fun. Like parties on the bottom tables, right? Like it is good crack. I mean, London Grand Tournament, like best sporting was Jack, a guy called Jack, and he took a stomper with him, and it was just like he played a stomper. I took oh my god, I took some Scythe Hydroduals, some Maliceptors, just big chunky monsters, because I knew, one, I was pregnant at the time and nobody knew about it, and I was like, how on earth am I going to play 5 games of 40k over 2 days with like a massive horde on me? It just wouldn't have worked for us. Like, so take a list that works for you. Take a list that you're going to find fun playing, because there's nothing worse than playing a list that, yeah, it might be meta, but you might not enjoy playing that list. So, and if you're then playing 5 games of a list that you don't even enjoy playing that well just because it's a meta list, like, maybe rethink your list and just go have fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. I think when people think about stuff like LGT, they think about these big tournaments, they think, oh, you got to be good. You have to be good to go to these tournaments, and like the thing is, you're only going to get good at doing tournaments if you go to tournaments. Like, you need to learn. Just playing a couple of games over a weekend with your friends isn't going to prepare you for what actually a tournament is going to be like. So you need to go to get good at them, and unfortunately that might involve losing, and that's also okay, because you're going to learn from that. We've had huge conversations about that whole idea about people being scared to lose, and it's about twisting that sort of mindset to be more like you lose to learn, rather than being scared to lose, which is what we try and push a lot at the club as well.
Absolutely. And then you have like the counter, and you hear this quite a lot. So it is, at the end of the day, competition. And yeah, there are going to be competitive players there, and you're right, there are going to be people who want a really competitive game. But as long as you know your rules, you've got your books with you or your rules with you, and there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'm just going to check my rule book. I think they'd appreciate it more that you've checked that that's the correct rule than they would you guessing, if that makes sense. So my advice would be, don't be worried to just double check your rules when you're there. There's no harm in it, and nobody's going to hold it against you if you don't know that rule off by heart. There's a lot of rules, there's a lot to remember, and we're all human after all. We can't remember every single rule all of the time.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's it. And there is so many rules in 40k. So anyone who can remember all rules for all armies and everything going on, as some kind of Rain Man thing going on, like, you can stand next to me and just whisper in my ear what I need to remember, because I remember nothing, which is my biggest problem. We've got a lot of chat going on in Twitch. Thank you so much for sticking with us. The technical faults were 100% all me. I do not know what happened. It's like typical, isn't it? When we decide we're going to record is the time that it decides that the internet is no longer needed in this household. So apologies for that. And thank you so much, Kerry and Dave, for just continuing that chat. And yeah, we've got a few people in there just talking away, and that's fantastic. I think one of my questions for you, Kerry, and something that we've been thinking about a lot in the club as well recently, has just been what's it like being a woman in a very male-dominated hobby space, or traditionally very male-dominated? Like, the law is very male. It's more geared towards males, with lots of men being in the law as well, and a lot of the models being male as well. And what has it been like for you? Do you feel you're treated differently, or do you find it hard? Have you found it difficult, or what has that experience been like in the Warhammer community?
I always say this, and I feel very privileged to have had mainly positive experiences.
Correct.
I've got a very good network of friends around me who I've built up over time, who are all in a Warhammer 40k, and me being a female doesn't make any difference. It doesn't change anything. I think negatives, I have had a couple of comments, funnily enough, from people that I did know at the very beginning who said, "Oh, you'll get loads of likes on Instagram because you're a woman." Like, that takes everything away from anything that I try to do, right? I've painted the model just the same as what everybody else has painted the model. I put the time in to learn the rules just the same as everybody else has put the time in to learn their rules. Built the army lists, everything. I played the events. Fair enough, I might not have won all my games, but I still put the same effort in. Just because I have different genitalia to other people doesn't mean that it's easier. It's hard. Learning your rules is a hard thing to do. Like painting models, sometimes I have terrible days where I just can't paint. It's all exactly the same. Same as when we're playing a game. It doesn't matter to me what gender my opponent is. I'll still respect them the same way. I'll still talk to them the same way as I would anybody else. It really shouldn't make any difference.
No, 100%.
Like, I'm really encouraged. You kind of gave us your kind of intro to the hobby, and I was actually really encouraged by your story, because one of the things that we've heard by some of the kind of female members of our club, or those who have kind of passed by as kind of plus ones of members that have come along, the story is very much often the same of, they go into the store and it's all, what are you looking to buy for your boyfriend or your husband or your friend? Like, what gift are you looking to get? And it's like, no, like, this is for me. This is my hobby too. And I'm actually like really glad to hear the narrative slightly has been different for yourself, because that's all too often, I think, is the narrative, and it's really great to hear like that it's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. They've always been in the store that I originally walked into, have always been encouraging, welcoming, kind. They listen. They're happy to hear about what I'm up to. They're generally really lovely, genuine people, and I feel privileged to know them. But yeah, there are times where I know that that's happened. It's happened to me before in different shops that I've went into before, and it'll be like, what have they asked for Christmas? And it's like, I'm just here for a pot of nun oil, sorry.
They're like that we don't have any no oil, because they never have bloody no oil.
Yeah. But I know this is such an important thing, and I've said this on a recent podcast that I did years ago. I would never talk about this topic, because I was always too afraid. Well, not necessarily afraid. I was always cautious of the backlash that you would get about talking about this. But now, being maybe more confident, one, in myself, thanks to the community, many of the community and the hobby that I'm in, I really feel like I found myself. But I also feel comfortable talking about these things now as well, because I think it's important. It was important beforehand. I just didn't feel like the space was as welcoming to talk about that. I didn't feel confident enough. I didn't know the space well enough. I didn't know the community well enough. I didn't know myself well enough at the time. I was very new to the hobby, so I didn't feel comfortable talking about the hobby as much, because I didn't know a lot about it back then. I was still very in that learning phase, whereas now I feel very confident talking about the hobby, because I'm doing it for like 4 or 5. I see a change in other people, but I also see a change in myself because of other people's changes, and how people are trying to diversify, how people are trying to be more welcoming, and that makes a massive difference.
No, 100%. And I think positive role models like yourself are they're what the community needs. Like, the community is only going to thrive the more diversity, the more people are involved in the hobby, is only ever going to make the hobby better. And to be able to pull down those barriers and have people like you speaking about those barriers and those misconceptions is just so important. And from your Instagram, and I've followed you for quite a long time, and myself just love your painting and love just the narrative that you put across, that positive narrative you put across about board gaming and basically your hobby life. Have you found like a good community of other women in Warhammer from events you've been through to and from hobbying? Like, what has that been like for you as well?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thank you for saying what you said about us being a role model. That is crazy. Like, it's still crazy to hear you say that, because I'm literally just doing hobby in my bedroom and sharing pictures of me at events and stuff. So it really is mad to hear you say that, because it's so lovely. But yeah, in terms of women, I again don't know whether females in my area as opposed to in London, and I don't know whether that is because it's more densely populated in smaller areas over here. But when I first started, I think there was me and one other female who did it, maybe about 4 years ago in the northeast. That now is like way bigger. I at least know up to 20 females now who do the hobby up here, maybe more. In terms of across the UK, and meeting people at events, absolutely. I met Chloe, the Lady Kane, where we talked during COVID on Instagram and just continued talking. Met her, we've met up and played games with 40k at Rachel, the Warhammer girl, her Clara, everyone. Like, there is a massive well, not massive, but in comparison to what it was at the beginning, there's definitely more of a female presence out there. There's so many people online as well, like Miniature Noodles. She's doing really well. There's a few people like I can't even name them all. Like, there's the original people who I followed, who I looked up to when I first started, like Tanya Gates. There's Katie out there, Maxine. You know, that there are quite a lot of females out there who both paint and play games. So it's nice to see that expanding and broadening.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose for us, like, our biggest question is, what could we be doing as a club to sort of pull down those barriers and make our space as inclusive as possible for women who maybe want to join but maybe are apprehensive? Or what could we be doing? Because we want to ensure that our club is open and available for anyone, no matter who they are. We strive to create a space where you just come in and we just chat and we roll dice and we just have a laugh. Like, it's a space away from the sort of norm, in a way of, hey, the only way you can socialize is to go out to the pub or go for a drink, or it's a different way for adults. And, you know, when you're an adult, it's difficult to find things that aren't that just go to the pub or go around someone's house and have a coffee, that it's something else. Like, it's a club for adults, essentially. Like, what could we be doing to sort of make our space more inclusive and encourage women who are maybe sitting there wanting to come but don't really know?
I think one of the main things is, I know this is going to sound really corny, but just smile. Like when they walk in, just give them a nod or a smile. You know, like, just acknowledge them. Don't be shocked. You know, don't be shocked. Oh my god, a female's walked through the door. Oh my god, panic. No, it's just like, you know, we're just normal. You know, we're just the same. Just, yeah, a smile, a nod in the right direction. How are you doing, sort of thing. I also think, like, having a space where, I don't know about the club, whether you offer like painting spaces. That's the best way to get them. You know,
Yeah, we
start off
we
painting.
actually have space for 15 people or more every night to come in and hobby, and it's one of the things that we open up to anyone to do for absolutely free, to come on a club night. Our space is very unique because we use a veterans charity hub. So, like, where I'm sitting just now is part of a 4 couch setup where there's like a fire, like a TV the size of my house. But you can sit and paint here, you can build stuff here. There's tables to my left and to my right. There's like we've got airbrush facilities here for people to borrow and learn these things, and we've got people who will sit and coach and support you. We've got a couple of commissioned painters that come to the club who they will sit and talk about wet blending till midnight.
Yeah, I wish I would lived closer because I'd be there. I would be there right now. Yeah, so I guess being able to share what you have on offer to people online and just shout about that a little bit more and be like, you're more than welcome to come down, have a chat, chill out, grab a coffee, just do some painting. Like, it's totally cool if you're not into gaming, just sit and chill, paint, whatever. Like, having that space and knowing that you've got that somewhere to just sit and be you and have some chill out time, then if they start coming back, that little smile that you did, like that welcoming hello, how you doing, might just encourage someone, male or female, just to have another conversation and come back again. And then it'll just spiral after that. It did with me anyways. Like, that's how I started. I walked into the shop and then I found out they were doing painting nights. I went and did some painting, saw somebody playing a game, asked about the gaming, and then the next thing you knew, I'm doing their beginners course, and then next thing I know, I'm signing up to tournaments. It's just, it was just a natural progression. So hopefully it'll be the same again. And just don't ask them if they'll do spicy content. Yeah, just don't do that.
No.
Nick does enough of that for us. It's okay.
I bring in the money with my spicy content. Yeah, and then the next thing you know, you've spent millions of pounds on plastic, and
then you've got a room that's just full of plastic crack.
That literally needs to just hold everything. Yeah, that's great, and I think we're always moving in the right direction, and we're always sitting down, and we always, as a committee, are talking about what more could we do, what things can we do better. So definitely taking on board those things that you said, like promoting the array of different things that we offer in the club is definitely something that we can potentially do more. We can look at ways to sort of incorporate that into our like blasts that go out on Discord. And if you're not part of the Discord and you're listening and you want to know more, please join our Discord. Extremely active community, extremely welcoming community. I recently I like to put things that I paint badly onto the painting chat because everyone says they're good, and it makes me feel good. Seeing those little hearts.
They are good, Nick. They are good. Okay? Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Doing stuff like this is so important, like showing that you're happy to talk about these topics. Like, this is just, if more people did this, then more people will see that there's more females in the hobby, and hopefully it'll encourage them to take part too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, thank you so much, Kerry. And really, we need to get you back on for like our normal just chewing and chatting about the news in Warhammer right now. To have that like you can be like our casual, like every like 3 or 4 months person that just comes on as the special guest that everyone listens to, that one where we're just chatting about the news. And it's so encouraging just to hear your stories and how you just sort of went and did things. And I think sometimes people just need that little push from people like you. And I know you said you've never thought of yourself as a role model, but it's not just a role model for women. It's a role model for people that are maybe a little bit apprehensive to try things, and being able to hear your story of how it's like, you know what, it isn't that scary. Like, I've done it. I've checked out how scary it is first for you, and I'm telling you it's okay. Golden, like, I would never think about doing Golden Demons, and just hearing what you were saying there, it's like, oh, well, maybe I could, maybe actually I could back myself a little bit and maybe put something in there for at some point for something like that, So I think that's always really great to hear, and it's we have a lot of new members coming through right now. We have our Learn to Plays happening quite often at the moment. So especially for those new players, a hobby that is so well established can feel quite scary, quite intimidating with the amount of content that already exists. But you just need to come in, message one of the Primarchs in the chat, someone from the committee, me, Dave, Keir, bus driver Dave, and also Derek, and we're more than happy to have a chat, more than happy to hash out, hey, I'm thinking about this army, or I don't know what army to choose, or whatever. Chat to us, chat to the community, put stuff in Discord. Everyone is always ready to lend a hand, so please just do that. And yeah, it's been so great to chat to you today, Kerry. And Dave, I don't know if you have any more questions before we go for Kerry.
I'm sure that was a wonderful question, but none of it came through whatsoever.
I know. I was like, did you hear the question?
I don't even know the question, but yes.
Yes.
Yes, Dave.
His question is, could you come up and just be at our club every Monday and Friday?
Oh my God. So,
love to.
Yeah, honestly, this stream is like cursed tonight, but it's also brilliant. No, I think the kind of last thing, I guess, is really like, you've shared your story and kind of some of the good sides, and obviously a very minimal negative in comparison to other kind of lived experiences. If you were to kind of sum it up though for somebody, because obviously Christmas time is a big time for people to get into this hobby, either by choice or by accident, depending on being in town and you walk past the Warhammer shop and you see people playing, or you see like local game stores and you see things happening. Like, what would be your kind of just like advice for that person who's maybe, a bit like yourself, who kind of walked past that store but kind of walked in like and are on the edge about opening that door? Like, what would be your kind of wisdom that you'd give to that person?
I would say go in, walk into that shop, have a look at the first model that you are the most drawn to, give it a go, because if you don't like it, you can at least say that you tried and it wasn't for you. But if you like it, it could just open up so many new opportunities, and you might find yourself with a new hobby that you absolutely love.
Well, again, Dave, you're speaking, and it sounds like it would be great, but we can't.
Like this. 2 words.
Yeah, that's what. But yeah, no, 100%, and yeah, thank you so much, Kerry, and we 100% need to have you up at the club at some point. We have some really super exciting stuff happening over next year, in that competitive scene that we would love to have you along to. I'm 100% going to send you our Discord, so you can join that community and see when all those events and stuff are happening, and just keep in touch with that. And yeah, just on behalf of me and on behalf of Reaper Wargaming as well, just thank you so much for coming in and chatting to us and taking some time out of your evening to do that. So yeah, thank you very much. And for those of you that haven't already, please follow Kerry at k.legs on Instagram. And is there anywhere else, Kerry? Any other plugs you'd like to do before we finish up today?
Yeah, it's mainly Instagram, but it's just k.legs with 2 S's on literally every social media platform you can find, so across the board. Anything that suits you, it's k.legs. But yeah, thank you so much for having us on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I would love to come up when baby's here and I can come up afterwards. Yeah, I'll come up, do some painting, play a game. You just keep in touch.
Yeah, no, we 100% will. And thank you for everyone that joined us live today. Thank you all for those who listen to us on podcast services around the globe. And thank you for bearing with us with all the technical issues that happened today. The warp has not been our friend. It's very hectic in the warp this evening. But yes, join us on Discord. join us on Twitch, join us on Instagram, Reaper Wargaming Glasgow, everywhere. And we will all catch you with more Warhammer news at our next podcast. So thank you very much, everybody.